Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out AmItheA Whole. Story 1. AITA for kicking my best friend out. I, 18F, own my own apartment and pay for it with my own money. My best friend, 19F, recently was kicked out of her family's house, conflict of beliefs, and had nowhere to stay. I offered her the extra room in my place as long as she could respect some simple rules. She would pay half of the rent. She wouldn't leave a mess around the house and would clean up after herself. She would contribute to buying necessities, toilet paper/paper towel, etc. Let me tell you how this went down. I am constantly picking up after her. She leaves dirty dishes and clothes all over the living room and kitchen. If it was in her room, I would understand, but it's all over the couches and sink. She constantly has her friends over and blasts music till 3 a.m. most nights. I work and go to school, and have asked her nicely to turn it down so that I could sleep, but she won't. Her friends stink up my house with and she won't get rid of the smell. I wake up to the kitchen filthy and her friends passed out around the house. I've told her countless times that this wasn't going to work out if she didn't clean up after herself/her friends. She never buys the necessities. While that isn't the biggest deal, it was a part out our deal because she uses them as much as I do. She also never pays rent on time. I constantly have to pay both of our halves because she doesn't have the money ready. It's driving me crazy. She told me she would pay me back the past 2 times, but hasn't. I finally decided to kick her out and she became extremely upset. I gave her time to find a place, but she's still extremely upset with me. Should I have been more patient with her? I've talked with my sister about it and she thinks that I did the right thing, but I don't know. Story 2. AITA for being honest about my uncle who passed tragically. I, M29, was recently invited to a memorial for my uncle who passed in a tragic accident many years ago. I will not get into too many details as his death was very public with some national coverage, but needless to say it was a horrific event. My family now holds a yearly memorial for his children and wife who he left behind. While I wholly support his wife and children and feel terrible for them, he was a horrible person while he was alive. Not only was he verbally abusive and extremely controlling, but he also was a serial cheater who could not keep it in his pants. His cheating and abusive tendencies were more or less an open secret and most people did their best to avoid him at family gatherings. However, as soon as he passed it was like my entire family completely forgot who he was. He became a perfect martyr that everyone remembered fondly and I was scolded by my family anytime I would imply otherwise. While I always avoid these yearly memorials, my mother and father have been attempting to guilt-trip me into attending the next one and we ended up having a heated argument during a recent family gathering where my extended family was present. The fight began like this. Mom, OP, can you please come to Uncle's memorial on date? You never attend anymore and you need to be more supportive of your aunt and cousins. Me, Mom, I already told you I have an important meeting that night that I can't miss. I'll visit them next month when I'm in town. Mom, OP, you are disrespecting your family and more importantly you are disrespecting your uncle. Every year that you are not present you are spitting on his legacy. You should be ashamed of yourself. Me, Mom, I already told you I can't come, please just drop it. At this point my mom starts crying and my father starts yelling at me. Dad, OP, I raised you to have more respect for you family, what is wrong with you? I have had this conversation with my parents yearly and it almost always ends with me apologizing to my mom and doing something special to make up it. I'm not sure why but this particular year something in me just snapped. Me, I am tired of everyone in this family treating Uncle's name like he was a good person. He was an asshole, and I'm not sad he's gone. You want to talk about disrespecting his legacy? His legacy as an abusive husband and a serial cheater? Why does everyone in this fucking family pretend like he had even one good quality? All of you talked shit about him constantly and said he didn't deserve his wife or kids. Luckily now he has neither, and his life insurance is paying for the kids' college funds. Please explain to me how that isn't a happy ending? At this point my other uncles and aunts got up from the table to comfort my mother who was sobbing, and I left before anyone could stop me. My younger family members agree with what I said, but all my uncles and aunts think I was wrong for speaking about my dead uncle like that. So am I the asshole? Story 3. AITA for ruining a marriage. My 30F cousin, 33M, we'll call D, has been with his wife, 30F, we'll call C, for 12 years, married for 8. They have 3 kids, oldest is 7. When C originally got with my cousin, he seemed like a different person. He was considerate, supportive, and generally a nice person/boyfriend. As for C, she has always been awesome, whole family loves her. Well, after they had their first child together, it seemed like all of his old habits came back and was pretty much the guy we knew all of our lives. As the years went on, C just kind of dealt with it. She did all of the housework, made all the meals, watched their kid, 24/7, and still did nice stuff for him. She took on a lot from him, including berating her ex, her weight gain, no one would ever want her, etc. When C was a Sam, he'd say they didn't have money, but he would turn around and drop hundreds buying himself something because he worked hard for it. He always blamed her for their money problems because she didn't work, but when she would offer to work he would blame her for not thinking about their kid. Over the years he's also shown shady behavior, sending flirty messages / Story 4. AITA for not leaving my brother's wedding with my crying wife when she was kicked out. My brother, 26M, got married last Saturday. There are 3 of us in total, I'm the oldest, 27M, the newlywed is the middle child, little brother is 21. At one point, I hated middle brother's partner. The 2 of them had bonded over some rough times they had both experienced and were self-medicating together. My brother wasn't using hard drugs himself, and I don't think his partner was ever properly addicted to anything, but I had gotten word that I needed to look out for him. I made it known I didn't approve of the relationship and thought he was a bad influence. My brother and I didn't speak without arguing for probably a good 2 years. That's all changed now. His partner has been sober for many years and has become a close friend of mine, little brother. We both gave toast speeches, and in little brothers, he said I can say there's 4 our last name brothers now instead of just 3. It was a very touching sentiment. After all the speeches are given, my wife pulls me aside kind of angrily and asks what I thought about them. I said they were lovely. It turns out she was mad over the fact that when little brother gave a speech in mine and her wedding, he didn't insinuate she was the first daughter of the family or anything like that. She said that his speech had mostly been focused on me, whereas his speech tonight was focused equally on both spouses and the future of their lives together. I brushed this off and said she needed to stop reading into things so much. About 20 minutes later, I see her looking similarly angry during a conversation with little brother. I walked over to try and put a stop to this myself, but I saw our other brother and his new husband coming over, so he must have caught wind of what was happening as well. The 2 of us are very protective over our youngest sibling, so middle brother comes out of the gate swinging, asking why she's pestering him. It all devolved pretty quickly. I wouldn't say a scene was caused as everyone was trying to keep it hush-hush, but my wife ended up crying when she was asked to leave, and that attracted some attention. She asked me to come back to the hotel room with her, and I refused. I wanted to continue celebrating. She was very angry and said this was just another way I was letting my brothers walk over her, and that I was excusing them, not giving her a chance. Since then, she and I haven't really spoken. I need some outside perspective. It's true that my brothers aren't nearly as close to her as we are to the new addition to our family, but that's just how these things go sometimes. AITA? Story 5. AITA for having my girlfriend over all the time. I have a basement apartment by myself. It is a 1-bedroom, with my landlord and his wife living above me. I pay a cheap rent and half the utilities for the house. Landlord is a friend from high school that we hang out with socially quite often. My girlfriend got a new job within 10 minutes of my apartment and her house is about an hour away. It wasn't intentional, the job kind of landed in her lap and is good money, so it makes more sense for her to stay with me more frequently when she is working in office. It has been this way for about 6 months that my girlfriend is at my apartment about 4 to 5 nights a week. There is street parking, so my girlfriend doesn't occupy the driveway and my entrance is separate with a locked door between the units. This week I am working midnights. Girlfriend has a key and has been staying at my place while I'm at work in the evening since Wednesday. Yesterday, Thursday evening, I get call from landlord flipping that she has been there, saying he doesn't like other people in his space. I say it's my space she is in as she doesn't leave my unit, and is locked from entering his, and he says he is not comfortable with someone there without me. My girlfriend and I went to their all-inclusive wedding, she is not a stranger to him and I said as much. It turned into argument that couldn't be solved while I was at work, so I told him my girlfriend would go home for the evening and him and I would sort it out in the morning. My girlfriend was upset, but packed to leave. While packing, my girlfriend called me in tears because my friend could be heard upstairs screaming about her being there and presumably smashing stuff. I could hear him through the phone, so I told my girlfriend to leave her stuff and I would bring it. When I arrived home that morning from my overnight work shift, I let my landlord know I would be moving out. He was very upset and said I'm tough for leaving him hanging for my rent next month when all he is asking is to have my girlfriend over less. I told him he's now made it so my girlfriend is uncomfortable at my place at all and that I want to live somewhere, where I can have guests at my own discretion, especially when I am paying half the utilities. He said it's not about money, but about comfortability and he'd be happy to talk to my girlfriend to make sure she knows they are still friends. I just want to be done with it. He made it clear what he is comfortable with and I made it clear what I am. AITA for wanting to move out so I can continue to have my girlfriend over all the time? AITA, to clarify a common question, we had no formal signed lease and were just on a month-to-month basis. Where I live, legally I can have guests stay up to fortnight, 14 days, before it is considered additional occupancy, though I know she stays more than what most call a guest. Story 6. AITA for telling my sister that my nephew will not longer be invited to my daughter's birthday parties. I, 33F, have an 8-year-old daughter, Jill, and my sister, 35F, has my 9-year-old nephew, Nick, Finn, 11M, and my niece Lily, 7F. My sister and I are usually very close. Both Jill and Nick are autistic. For her 8th birthday Jill asked if she could have a party at our house because she has made friends at school this year, something she has had trouble with. I agreed and she invited 10 of her classmates. She also asked if she could invite her cousins and I agreed. She really only wanted Lily there, but she wanted to also invite Finn and Nick so they didn't feel left out. Finn didn't come, but my sister basically forced Nick to come because he doesn't usually get invited to birthday parties and social gatherings. He arrived in a Jedi costume, it was not a themed party, and my sister said it was the only way he agreed to come. I told her I didn't have a problem with it. He spent the whole party pretending to be a Jedi, and interrogated a few of the other kids about being part of the Empire. Jill told me that she didn't like it, and I asked my sister if she could talk to him. She did and he settled for a very brief period, but every time we would play a party game he would take over by loudly drawing attention to himself. When we sang happy birthday he caused a scene by throwing a tantrum by saying this party was stupid and so was everyone here. Jill cried and I asked my sister to take him home. She later called me and told me I was cruel for making him leave, that I of all people should understand how much he struggles because I'm autistic, though diagnosed in adulthood. I told her I do understand, but that he ruined Jill's first ever friend party, made the other kids upset at points by insulting them, and threw a tantrum when things weren't about him. I told her I know he struggles and doesn't understand but so does Jill, and I have to look out for her and that he won't be invited to future birthdays for a while. I feel very guilty but I think I did the right thing. AITA? That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.